Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel Code for Tech Solutions. Today's video is going to be very interesting as we are going to cover a new topic and we are going to create a full stack with Angular 18 material and Node.js and MySQL as a database. These are some prerequisites which we are going to use. For front-end and back-end development, we are going to use VS Code editor. For front-end, we are going to use Angular CLI version 18.2.3, NPM 10.5.0, Material 18.2.5. For back-end development, we are going to use Node.js and Node version we are going to use v20.11.1. And for the database, we are going to use MySQL as a database. And to create the database and tables on the MySQL side, we are going to use XAMPP control panel tool, which is an user interface for creating database and tables on the MySQL side. Next, we are going to use Postman to test our CRUD functionality, which we are the APIs to test our APIs, which we are going to write on the backend application. So all these things we are going to use to create this full stack application. And the best thing is that we are going to use all the latest versions and these technologies, including the Angular material as a library. So these are some points which we are going to cover in sequence. Like first we will see our architecture point. Next I will show you the application user interface. Next we are going to create a database and table on MySQL side. Next we will create our backend application using Node.js. In that, we will create our Node.js application first. Next we will configure the MySQL database. We will first create the MySQL database connection and pool in Node.js application. Next, we will implement all the CRUD operations or functionalities, and we can implement CRUD APIs in that. And finally, we will test our CRUD APIs using Postman. So this is about the backend points which we are going to cover. And on the front end side, we are going to create our new new Angular application using Angular version 18. It's a standalone application we are going to create, and we are going to create a material table using Angular material library. Next, we are going to implement the CRUD APIs on the front end side, and along with that, we are also going to implement some important functionalities like filter, sorting, and pagination using Angular material library. Finally, we will test our end-to-end functionality through UI browser and verify the result on the database side in our MySQL tables. So this is about all the points which we are going to cover in sequence, and I will request you to please watch this from start to end. So this is an architecture part wherein we are going to create our front-end application with name candidate-web. So basically we are going to create a candidate system which is applicable to different domains, and in this we are going to create candidate web as a front-end application using Angular 18 version. In that, we are going to use a material table, mat table, and we are going to use HTTP client provider to give the API call which we are going to write on the backend side. So this is about the front-end application. So apart from the CRUD functionality, we are also going to implement searching or filter, searching, sorting, pagination functionality on the front-end side with the help of Angular material library. So this is about all the functionality we are going to cover on the front-end side. On the back-end side, we are going to create our backend application using Node.js, and we are going to name our service like candidate-service. In that, we are going to implement all the CRUD functionality using the HTTP client and HTTP client methods, and we are going to use MySQL library so that we can MySQL 2 library, which is the latest one, so that we can connect with the MySQL database from the backend application. Our backend application will connect with the MySQL, in which we are going to create our database and table related to the candidate. So this is about overall architecture part which we are going to cover in this video. So this is my channel which is Code for Tech Solutions. I will request you to please visit my channel and subscribe the same. in which with the support and help of you all people, I have created number of full stack applications, and I will request you to visit my channel, wherein I have created number of full stack applications with the combination of React plus Spring Boot and React plus Node.js, as well as I have created number of applications, full stack applications with the combination of Angular plus Spring Boot and Angular plus Node.js. So these are all variables videos which are ready and I have created on my channel. So I will request you to please visit my channel, and I am sure you will find at least one video which is you are looking for. So please do visit to my channel and look for the video, full stack video which you are looking for. So this is about the short introduction of what we are going to cover in today's video. So let us start with our user interface first. So our user interface will look like this one. So this is the header part, and here this is the search filter functionality we are going to uh, cover, like in which we can add any, we can enter any text, accordingly the table data will get filtered out. And let's say, so this is about our uh, filter functionality. Similar way we are going to implement our sorting functionality as well. So we can apply sorting on candidate and name as well, email and address. So accordingly the data will get filtered out. So this is about the sorting functionality which we are going to implement. And these are some action buttons like edit and delete, wherein we are adding this edit and delete function buttons through which we are going to achieve the edit or updation and the deletion functionalities. Below the table you can see there is a pagination implementation, wherein from here we can control the number of items per page, and once we click on next page it will show us the next records or next page. Similar way it will keep on showing until we reach the last page. Once we reach on the last page, it will disable the next page option as well as the last page option, because we do not have any further items or page to show. Similar way, if we click on previous page, it will take us to the previous page. Likewise, it will keep on taking us to previous page until we reach the first page. Once we are on the first page, it will disable the previous page and first page options, because we do not have any previous page or items to show. So this is about the pagination functionality which we are going to implement as a part of this video. And apart from that, we are also going to implement CRUD functionalities. So this is about, like, first of all we will get the data by using the get mapping and populate into the table using get mapping. We will call the get, and here for to implement the post mapping, like to create any candidate, we can enter the name, like let's say Sachin as a name, and here we can add one email like Sachin. So okay, like Sachin @gmail.com, and here address we can add something, we can copy from here right now and edit it here, and we can submit. Now we can see Sachin is added successfully as the last record. So with this, this is the addition functionality which we are going to achieve. Like we can add or create any new candidate into the table. Similar way, if you want to edit any candidate, like let's say this is our, so let us take 8 records for fine. So let us say we can edit our 14th record, and here instead of Julia 1 we can make it like let's say James, and here similar way we can modify the ID, and here we can say 07 sector. Let's go. Now here, okay, we can see the James is updated successfully. So this is about the updation part we are going to achieve. So with the help of edit button, we can update the record, and apart from that, once we click on edit, so you can see the record will get populated into this form, mat form field, and likewise the what record you will click on, so accordingly data will get populated. And let's say if you want to clear any record, like let's say we can click on cancel button and it will clear the records. So this is about addition and addition part. Similar way, if you want to delete any record, we can simply click on delete button and it will show us the confirmation box, pop-up box. So once we click on OK button, the record will get deleted from the table. So this is about all the CRUD functionalities along with the searching, sorting, pagination we are going to implement in this video. So I will request you to please watch this from start to end so that you will not miss anything in between. Now, without any further ado, so let us jump into the coding part. Now, let me close everything. Now, let us create one new folder with name like Angular Node JS, and here we can create MySQL. Fine. Now, we can open our VS Code instance first. Now, here inside this, first we can create one folder. First of all, before we create our backend application, let us first create our database on the MySQL side. So this is the exam control panel, which is an user interface. It will help us to create the database and tables on the MySQL side. You need to just simply start the Apache server MySQL, and here once you click on admin button, it will open the interface. Here you need to enter the username and password so that you will see the interface like this one. So here you can click on new option and it will allow you to create a new database. Like we can create a new, let me delete this database first. So here we can create a new database, like let's say candidate master, and you can simply click on create, and we can see candidate master database is created. Now if you want to create the table under this candidate master, we can simply enter the table name, like let's say candidate, with column name, the number of columns we can mention, and simply click on create button. Here we need to enter the fields or columns which we are going to use. First is id, which is a type big int, and here we can make it as an auto increment. Next we can use name column, which is a varchar, and we can define some length. Similar way we can add email, which is a varchar again, and we can define some length. And finally we can use address, which is a varchar with some length. Let's say we can make some 300 length. Now this is about all the 4 columns we are using to create the candidate table, and we can simply click on save button. Now we are done with our database creation. We have created our database with name candidate underscore master, and inside that we have created candidate table with 4 columns like id, name, email, and address. That's it. We are done with our database and table creation on the MySQL side. Now let us focus on our backend application creation. So we can first create our new folder using command mkdir, and here we can name our project folder like it's an candidate hyphen service. So you can see it has created one new folder. It's an empty folder now. Now let us initialize it. First we need to go to our candidate folder. Now we can initialize it using command npm init -y. Now we can see it is initialized. Now we can install all the required dependencies, like we need Express framework for the backend development, course we require, Node-man we require, next like MySQL 2 we require. So these many things we require. So let us install all these in one go. Now we can see all the dependency we have added as expected. Now let us do one thing. So this is like we have added all these dependency. Now let us create one file with name like server.js. Okay, fine. Now we have created this server.js file. Now what all things here we need to mention in our package.json. Here instead of index.js we are going to use server.js, and here we need to add the start script, and here we can mention this script like Node-man, and here is our server.js. It should use the server.js file to start with. Fine. Now we have just created an empty server.js. Now in order to create our actual backend application, what all things we need, like first we need to add all the imports. Here we need to create our server, Node.js server. Next, like we are going to create MySQL connection. We are going to create a MySQL connection and pull. Next, we are going to create one controller wherein we are going to implement all the CRUD functionalities, and finally we will test our CRUD functionalities through Postman. So that's it. So these are all points which we are going to cover. So let us do one thing. First of all, we can add all the imports. Like first import means the what all libraries we are going to use. Constant we are going to use Express as a framework, and here we can use Express. Our app is going to use Express framework. Next thing, the constant, like we are going to use course. We can add require course. Next constant we can use like we can use one port, and here we can use process.environment.port, or here we can mention some specific port. Next constant we can use MySQL, and for this we can use MySQL. Either we can use MySQL or MySQL 2. MySQL 2 being latest, we can choose MySQL 2. Next constant. So I think this much is enough. Now our app should use course. Next app should use our express.json, and next like we are going to use express.url encoded. and here we can use like extended as a false. Now next our app should listen to port and we can log the message like server is running on port, and here we need to mention our port on which our application is running on. Fine. So this is about creating a server. We are done with. Now we can copy this, edit it here. Fine. Now let us run our application. So let me create one more terminal. We can go to the candidate service and we can run our application using command npm start. Now we can see it is showing the message successfully that our server is running on port 3000. Now with this we are done with our server creation. Now let us create a MySQL connection and pool. So for that we can do like we can create one new folder. Here we can create one db folder inside which we can create a new folder. So we have two options, like either we can write the code it here, or we can create one new folder and we can put our connection related logic within that. We can create one new file, and within that we can create our connection related logic, and we can create one pool, and that pool we can export so that that will get used in our application throughout. Okay, so we have created db folder. Inside that we can create one db.js file, inside which we need to first we can create one constant like it's a MySQL, and we are going to use MySQL 2 library. Next thing, like we can create one pool, and here we can use MySQL dot, so it should be MySQL dot to create connection, and here we can mention host name, localhost, port name 3307, which is our MySQL port. So if you want to cross check, this is the port. You can see we are going to use. Next, user, I'm going to use root in my case. If you have created any custom user or user account, you can use that username and password, the same you can use. Right now I am using the root, and the database we are going to use, like we have created candidate underscore master, and we can add one connection limit, let's say 10 we can use. Fine. So we have defined our connection properties for MySQL. Now let us add one more. Let us create a connection on actual pool. So we can call get connection. Can complete this and we can save it. And now we can call get connection. So this is the host, localhost, port, user, password, database, and connection. Now here we can call this get connection method, inside which we can define one error and connection callback. And here we can say if there is an error, in that case we are going to throw the error, or else we can log the message like connected to MySQL DB successfully. and finally we can release the connection. Fine. And we are done with our connection like logic, and this is the pool we have created on. Now we need to export this pool using module dot, using its module dot exports is equal to, we can use this pool and we can save it. Now we are done with our database connection logic. Now let us create our controller part. So to create the controller, we can create one new folder with name controller, and inside that we can create one new file with name controller.js, and we need to add the rest of the logic in controller. Now inside controller we are going to implement all the CRUD functionality. So let us first define Express, which is the backend development framework which we are going to use right here. We can define one more constant for router, and we can use like it's an express dot router. We can make use of. Next thing we need like a db variable, because we are going to access the database which we have created. Like this is the db, and inside which we have this db file which we are going to use. Now we can write our actual CRUD functionality. First we can check call the get method on this, and here we can define some best practice endpoint. Like we can start with API v1, and we can give endpoint name like candidates, and here we can add request and response callback, and inside which we can define first SQL query, like we can say it's an select star from our database table name is candidate we have created. So if you want to cross check, you can cross check like so. So this is the candidate master database, and this is the candidate table. Now this is the candidate, and we can complete this. Now next thing, like we can call the db dot query, and here we can pass this SQL first which we need to execute, and we can add callback error or result. We can check like if in case of error we are going to return the error, or else we are going to return the result, and we can save it. Okay, so this is about get API, get mapping, through which we are going to return all the records which are there in candidate table. Fine. So this is about get. Similar way we can implement the post mapping. So this is the post, and here for post we can change the SQL, like it should be insert into candidate, and here we can add the column name in backtick, inside backtick, like name is equal to name. Next we can add email. Next we can add address, and here we can add like values, and we can add three placeholder, one for name, one for email, and one for address, and we can complete the bracket. Now this is about insert query. Now here we have created this insert query. The next thing, like, we need to pass the input parameters for the placeholders. Like here we can call request dot body dot name as a first input parameter. Similar way we can call request dot body dot email. Next we can call request dot body dot address. So these three input parameters will get replaced with these placeholders. That's it. Now we can save this. So we are done with our post mapping. Now next thing, we can add our put mapping, so that we can update our candidate record into the database. For that we can use like update table name candidate, and here we can use set name. Here we can add a placeholder for name, placeholder for email, placeholder for address, and we need to pass where id is equal to one more placeholder. That's it. Now this is about the update query. Now we have passed the update query. Now here we need to first get the id from our request dot from our, this is the id number type, so we can get the id from our request dot params dot id, and same id we need to pass it here along with these three input parameters. So we have total 4 input parameters. One is name, email, address, and id as a in where clause. So we have passed the in same order, like name, email, address, and this is the id. That's it. Now we can save it. With this we are done with our put mapping. With the help of put mapping we can update our record into the database. Now finally we can use the delete mapping. And sorry, here for put mapping we need to add one more thing. Here we need to pass id as an parameter along with the modified request body. Okay, and for the delete same, we need to pass the id as well. And for delete we need to change the query, like it's a delete candidate, and delete from candidate, we can say from candidate, and we do not need to pass the body, only id we need to pass. For against this id the candidate will get deleted from the database, and here as an input we just need to add the id, which is enough. That's it. So this is about all the CRUD functionalities we have implemented. Now next important thing, we need to export this, like exports, and here we need to export this router, so that these functionalities we can make use of in our actual server.js file. Fine. So we are done with all these CRUD functionality implementation part. Now let us use this into our server.js. Now here inside server.js, like after this we can add one constant for controller, and here we need to use our controller, which we have defined like this is the controller, and this file we are going to use access in this server.js, and we can use our application should use this controller. That's it. Now this much is enough, and we can save it. So let us check the get connection logic. can say this is the required MySQL to release. Sorry, this should be create pool, not connection. So this should be create pool. Yes, seems good. Now let us check how it works. Now here we can clear it and rerun our application. Fine. Now let us check our all the CRUD functionality through Postman. Now we can select check first the get method, and here now this is our candidates. Now let us send it. Now it is showing empty, which is as expected, because on the database side we can check if we can see these are only headers, there is no data for this select query. That means it is showing the empty, which is as expected. Now let us add one record using post mapping, and we can select the JSON. We can copy this URL, edit it here. Now we need to add some records so that we can check. Let me copy few records and we can copy it here. Now here we can add one record and check how it goes. Now we can see it has successfully inserted one record and insert ID 1, and if we call the get mapping, it is showing the same record. Now let us add couple of records. Yes, this is the second and this is the third. Fine. Now the get mapping should show 3 records, which is as expected, and the ID is incremented by 1. Now let us check on the database side. Can refresh it. Now we can see we have 3 records which we have just added. Now next thing what we can do, we can check for our put mapping, and this is the put method. We can use JSON and we can copy this URL, edit it here, and to delete the record, to update the record, we just need to update, we need to modify the record. Instead of Sujata, now we can modify it like let's say Sam, and here we can use it's a Sam sector, we can make it as a 21, and that's it. Now here for updating any record we need to pass the ID along with the modified body. We can send it. Now we can see one record is changed. Now we can call the get method and we can see here same is reflecting, and the same on the database side we can check, seems good. Now let us try with delete method, and this is the delete method. We can select the JSON part, and here we can copy this URL, edit it here, and for deleting the candidate we just need to pass the ID for which the candidate we need to delete, and we can see if the record is deleted successfully, we need to call the get mapping again, and we can see third record we have just deleted successfully. Similar way we can cross check in database. Now it should show only 2 records, which is as expected. Seems good. With this our CRUD functionalities are working fine, and we have created successfully our backend application using Node JS, and we have implemented all the CRUD functionalities, and we have tested it using Postman. Fine. Now let us focus on our front end functionality for front end development. Now let me create one more terminal here, and here we can create our Angular application, new Angular application using command ng new, and we can name our application like it's an candidate hyphen web, and we can select the CSS as is, and the server side rendering we can say no, and it has started installing the packages. We can wait till it installs. Now it has created the new Angular application. Let us go to project folder, and here we have created our Angular application, and let me open it here. We can see the package.json. These are all Angular versions. We have libraries we are using. Now let us run our application using command ng serve -o. We can type y. We can see our application is running fine. Now we have, so we can see we are using this Angular 18 version, which is through which we have created our standalone application. Now let me show you the versions, what all versions we are going to use, like so this is the Angular CLI 18.2.5, Node version 20.11.1, and let me show you the npm version as well, which is 10.5.0. These are all latest version we are going to use to create this application. Fine. Now next thing, like we can see we have not so before we do this, our Angular front-end application is running on port 4200, whereas our backend application is running on port 3000, and these are cross platforms, and so we need to make a communication in these two. So what we can do, we can create one proxy inside our src. We can create proxy.config.json, inside which we need to add some entry like let's say it's the /API. For all API related URL, it should forward to target, and here we can mention the target. We need to copy the base URL from here, like from here till here, and we can edit it here. This is our backend URL we need to mention, and we can use like secure as a false for now. You can save it. If you are using some other host than localhost, you can edit it here, like using change origin, and here you can mention that other host. That's it. Now for now we are using the local host, so we will stick to it. Fine. Now we have configured this proxy. We need to mention it here as well in our serve option. Whenever we run our serve command at that time, it should use this proxy, and the proxy name it's src, like proxy config.json it should use. Fine. So this is about the proxy configuration on in Angular. We are done with. Now we can go back to our package.json and we can check. Till now we have not added any Angular dependency. Let me open one more terminal, and here we can go to our project folder. Here we can add Angular dependency using command ng add, and here is our Angular / material we are going to use. Now we need to type Y for this 18.2.7 version. We can go with the default theme as is. Next, for typography we can say Y, and include and enable animations. Yes. Now we can see Angular material is installed successfully, and we can check this version which is of Angular material. Fine. So we have added Angular material. Now let us focus on our let us add some so before we add anything, let me show you where is the entry point for our application, because we are using Angular 18 and by default it will create the standalone application for us, and something has changed with the version of 18, like this is the main.ts, this is the entry point for our application from where our application will get bootstrapped, and it will use app config for here, and we can configure all the providers inside that, like HTTP client provider, and there are some other providers if you are using, we can configure it here. Now next, like this is the app.component.ts, and we are going to render this file, and for now this is the it will render this file as an page. Okay. Now next thing, like what we can do now, let us create our components. So first we can create our module with name ng generate and module, and we can name our module like candidate. Fine. So we can see one candidate module is created. Now next thing, we can generate one service inside candidate module, and we can name the service the candidate itself. Fine. So we can see this candidate service is created successfully. Next component we can generate generate one component, and sorry, it should be ng generate and the component, and here we can generate the component inside a candidate module, and the name of the component, it is like home component, which is standalone as we are using Angular 18. So this home component we want to generate for our application, and this is the command. Fine. Now we can see this home component is created successfully. Next thing what we can do, we can create one more component as an interface. So we are going to create, and the interface name we can create candidate itself inside candidate module. Fine, we have created all the components successfully which are needed for our full stack application. So first of all, we have created one candidate module like this one. We have created one service, candidate service like this one. Next, we have created one home component. So in candidate service, we are going to add our all the we are going to HTTP client, and we are going to call all the HTTP methods like get, post, put, and delete. Next, like we have created this home component, and each component has its own CSS, HTML, text file, and TS file. So home component, we are going to show the tables and the action buttons on that. We are also going to add the searching functionality, like one input filter, uh, text filter for searching functionality, as well as we are going to add mat form fields for like name, email, and address. Once we click on that, like we can see, I will show you. This is like enter name, email, and address, like that. And we are going to show the submit and cancel button as well. So like most of the things we are going to show on home component. So this is about the component which we are going to show. Next thing, we have created this candidate as an interface. Now let us do one thing. We can add the attribute set inside this, like ID is the number. Next, we are going to use name, which is of type string. Next, we are going to use email, which is of type string. And finally, we are going to use address, which is again of type of string. And we can save it. Fine. Now next thing, like we can add some routing logic at here, like we are going to, for this path, like we can say candidates slash home. So we are going to generate the component, and our component name is home component we want to show. Similar way, we can use path, and for this path, like we are going to redirect to this home, and this is the path match as the full. You can copy it, and here we can use this one. So what we have done it here. So if we have this URL path, then we want to render home component HTML. If we have only candidates, then again we are redirecting to the home component. And if we have empty URL, again, like in any case, we are going to redirect to the home page. That's it. Now next thing, we need to clear everything from app.component.html, and here we can use our router outlet so that it will render the home component. Now we can see it is showing the home component HTML. If we go at home HTML, it is showing the same. That's it. Our router is working fine as expected. Now next thing what we can do, now let us first generate one design our table HTML, home HTML. So home page we are going to design. So let us create one root container first. Inside that we can create like one header. We can add one line break. Now here we can create one header, and we can name our header, like we can make it like strong, and we can name it like it's a full stack with Angular 18 material, Spring Boot, and MySQL. That's it. Now you can see that it is reflecting. Now we can add some style, like we can add one color, text align, can say center. That's it. So we have mentioned the width, margin top and margin left. So we have added some CSS for this main container and this header. That's it. Now it seems good. Now what next we can do? Now we need to create. We can add one line break. Next we are going to use like mat form field. So to use this mat form field, we need to import it first. Like here, we can use mat form field module. We can use, and we can import it. From we can use Angular material and form field. That's it. Now we can save it. Fine. Now here for this form field, we can add input, and this is a like it's a mat input we are going to use, and for this we can add one placeholder like enter name. That's it. Now for this form field, we can add some style and we can mention some width like this much. Sorry, width. Fine, we can save it. You can see it is showing. Now here we are using mat input. We need to add the import for mat input as well. Mat input module. We can save it. Okay. Now this is the backend application and this is frontend. What we can do now, let us rerun our application and check how it shows. Fine, it is showing as expected. Now it is seems good. Now similar way we can create like, so this is about mat input. Next thing what we can do, we are going to show some icon next to the input box. We can use mat icon, and here we can use like font icon, and here we can use like person, and here we can save it. Now here we need to import for mat icon as well, mat icon module. That's it. Now we can see, now to show this icon next to the input box, we can use mat suffix and save it. Seems good. Now this is about one field, mat form field. We can copy it. We can add two more mat form fields, one for email, and here we can use the same email font, and this is for address. Here we can use address, and we can save it. Now we can see it is showing as expected. Now we can add some margin, like margin left as an 15 pixel, and same we can edit it here, and we can save it. Now it seems good. Next thing what we can do, like after this mat form field, we need to add one button, and this is like we can use mat flat button. You have various options to create a button like mat stroked button, mat raised button, or you can use basic button or mat flat button. This is one option we can make use of. Now for this button we can add some style, and we can add some margin left somewhere 25 pixel, and we can save it now. And this button name we can use it's a submit. Fine. So this is about one button. We can copy this and we can add one more button, and this should be for cancel. And we can use some color for this cancel button as an one, and we can save it now. For this we can add some margin left lesser, we can save it. Now it is showing as such. Now we need to add import for button as well it here. Now we can add like mat button module, and we can save it. Now we can see it is showing. Now let us do one thing here. We can use some lesser. So instead of 25 we can make it 20. Seems good. It is showing as expected. Fine. Or 25 is fine. Fine. So we have created one this is for editing the candidate to the database, and here we can enter anything accordingly. Once we submit, the candidate should get inserted into the database. Now after this, we need to add one more form, a mat form field. We can copy it as is. Now we can add one line break, and this is for this is for search functionality. We can see search candidate, and here we do not need to. Here we can add one search icon. Fine, seems good. Fine. And here margin left we can remove, we can save it. Seems good. Okay, fine. If we want, we can add one more line break so that it should look good. Seems fine. Now let us add table next to this. To add the table, we can add one more line break, and here we can go to our URL. Here we can type Angular material table, and we can copy some table from here. Now let us copy all this as is, and this is our home component. Here we can paste it to show the table, and we can save it. Now it is showing error for this data source. Now we can copy the data source from here as this, and we can add it to our PS file, and we can save it. Fine. Now here to data source we can use a new mat data table, mat table data source, and here we can use it's a candidate type, and we can create one new instance. We can add the import for this candidate, and we can save it. Now here we can save it as well. Now to use the mat table, we need to import for that one as well. This is the mat table module. We can import. Now it is showing all the headers like number, name, weight, and symbol, but we are not going to use these headers. We want our own headers. Now we can change it. This is the ID, name as is, it's the email, and this is the address we are going to use, and we can save it. Now it is not showing anything because we need to change it accordingly. The same way we need to change it here, and this should be matching to the column names what we mentioned it here. So for this is the ID, this is the name, this is the email, and finally it's an address. Now what we can do here, here we can say it should be candidate ID. Whatever we mention it here, that will get shown on the UI. So make sure what you are giving the column name. This is the email, and this is like it's an address. Fine. What next we can do? We can define some variables like for candidate, which is of type candidate, and we can initialize it using ID. It's a blank. Sorry, ID it's a 0. Next name as a string. Next email. Sorry, not a string. You need to initialize with the blank. For email as well, we can initialize it with blank, and address as well, and seems good. We can save it. What next we can do, like we are going to define one more variable, and it's an candidates, and which is of type candidate array, and we are going to initialize it with array. Fine. So we have these two constants, like one for candidate and one for candidates, which will return which we are going to capture the candidate related data, which we are going to get from the GET API. Fine. Now what we can do here, we can use the candidate. For this row we can use here we can copy this candidates, and we can use it here. Instead of row we can use candidates, and we can copy this, and we are going to use, instead of element, everywhere we are going to use candidate, and here it should be address. Here again, like it should be candidate, and it's an email. We need to change everywhere, and it is more readable as well. Seems good. And this is for ID, and here instead of position we need to use ID. Fine, we can save it. Now it is showing our headers for columns as expected. Now seems good. Now next thing what we can do, like we are going to, so we are done with our header showing. Now let us implement our get mapping and render the data inside this table. So that part we can do. For that, first we need to create our service. Inside that we can define one service variable, which is like HTTP client, and this is the HTTP client we are going to use. In the constructor side, we can add one base URL, which is of type string, and we can mention the base URL. And what is the base URL basically? So we can go back to our backend development, and if we go to controller, this is the base URL we can copy, and this is our service. Here we can mention that base URL. So if you check, this is the root URL base and this is we want to append it to, like, which is a common part we can taken into the base URL. Now next thing what we can do, we can define one method like fetch all candidates, and here which is returning the observable, of type candidate, and here we need to add import for this one as well as candidate find. Now here we are going to return on our service variable method, we are going to call get, which is returning candidate array, and here we can call this get method, and inside this get method we are going to call this base URL. Fine. So return this .http client, and here it should be candidate array. Fine, seems good. So we are done with our get fetch all candidates method. Now we need to consume it in our home.html first, so that we can render it on our HTML, home HTML. Fine. Now here first of all we need to, this is home component, it should implement after view unit, and here it should implement like ng after view unit, and here we need to define one constructor inside which we can use our service, which is like candidate service, and here we can use like candidate service. Now inside this we can call this candidate service and the method on that like fetch all candidates, and we are not passing any input, and we are going to subscribe on this, and this is the callback data we are going to assign to this dot candidates, which is our local variable. To this candidate we want to assign whatever data is getting returned from it here. Now we can save it. Now here we can check like it is not showing any data. Okay, so actually in order to use the HTTP client on the service side, it here on this HTTP client we need to mention the provider in our app.config. As I told you what all provider we are going to use, we need to mention it here. So it's an provide HTTP client we are going to use. Now let us save it. Fine, now it is showing as expected. Now till it is not showing the data, let us check. Now this is our ts file for home, inside which if we go to our HTML, here in it is showing the data source. Fine, we need to prepare our data source. So now we have retrieved the data, and same data we need to populate in the data source so that it will get shown on the screen. Now here this is the local variable we are going to use. Now we can save it. Now you can see it is showing the data as expected. Now it is showing only 2 records. Let us check how many records we have in our table. So you can see we have only 2 records in our table, which is as expected. Now it is showing 2 records. Let us add few more records so that we can apply our searching, sorting, pagination logic on that. So I have some data ready. Now we can go to our post method. Here we can add few records, and here and cut this. This is the 3rd record. This is 4th. So this is fifth. Sixth. Basically we are adding now few more records so that we can apply our searching, sorting, pagination on more number of records. Fine, we are done with adding the records. Now let us check by calling the get method. Since code we can see there are 13 or 14 records we have added successfully. Now let us check. Seems good. Fine. Now let us add some CSS part to this table. So it is just looking like plain table. Fine. I have some CSS, copied it here. Let us check and add into our, this is our style.css. Here we can add this and we can save it. Now you can see it is the CSS is applied. What we have done, like this is the mat MDC header row and this is the color which we are going, which we have applied to the columns, and this is the height of the row, each row, and here for each even child we have applied this color, like this is the color for even row we have applied. Fine, that's it. So we can add more CSS, but we can still add this much, which is enough. Fine, we can save it. Now let us focus on our searching, sorting and pagination functionality. First we can implement the search functionality. Now we can see where this is our search candidate functionality. We can increase its length a bit. $85 or $95. Fine. Now here this is our input search, here is our input, and here we can make some filter, and here on once we input something to search, we are going to call one search candidate function, and here we are going to add filter.value path, and we need to implement this functionality in our home.ts. And here this is the input, which is of type string, and here we can, so we want to in order to get the filtered list, we need to define one variable of constant, like this is the filtered candidates list. Fine, you can copy it, and here we are going to store the filtered list into this variable, and actually we are going to filter our original list of candidates. This is the candidates on which we can apply the filter, and inside this we can say for each atom, like it's atom dot name dot to lowercase, and here we can call includes method, and we can say it's a input dot to lowercase. So this is for name. Similar way we can add for email as well as for address. So this is for email and this is for address, and we can save it. Now next thing, this is about addition. Next thing, like this is the filtered candidates. Now In order to show it on the screen, like we need to change the database data source with this filtered candidates, because this new list should get shown on the UI as well. That's why we have passed this. Now we can save it. Now let us search, check how our search functionality works. This is the search filter. Here we can search for, let's say, Kevin. Seems good. Now Robin, Robin, okay, seems good. Now let's say Julia, fine, and Tom. Okay, so this is filter is applicable to all the table data. Now with this our searching or filter functionality working fine. Now let us implement the sorting logic as well. To implement the sorting logic, what we are going to use it here. Let us check the sorting section. So this is the sorting. Let us check how we have implemented. So first of all, we can use mat sort at table level. This is our table. Here we can add mat sort and we can save it. What next? We need to add mat sort header for all the columns. We can copy it, and this is our first ID. This is our next column. This is the column for email. This is the column for address. We can add it to column level, mat sort header. What next we need to do? We can go to TS file, and here this is the view child. We can copy it and we can add it into our TS file. It here we can add, and we can import for this. We have added import. Now for this we can use any, and we can save it. Now to make use of mat sort, we again need to add mat sort it here, like mat sort module. We need to import it. We can save it fine. What next we need to do? Like we need to initialize this sort. Now here we need to apply this sort to our data source. Okay, so that it will be applied to our data. Okay, fine. Now let us check how it works. Now this is the candidate in descending and in ascending order. Similar way it is in ascending and in descending order for name, for email. Seems good, and this is for address. Now our sort is working fine. Now let us implement our pagination part. So for pagination, we can go for this pagination. This is the pagination section. Here we can go it here, and below this table we can copy this part, and we can go, and below this table we can add this pagination. Next, what we need to do, like here is our, we need to define one variable like this one, view child variable, and next to this we can add the variable. We need to add import for this one, and here we can use any, can save it. And next we can apply this paginator to our data source, and we can save it. What next we need to do? Like we need to import the module, like it's a mat paginator module we need to add, so that we can use it. Fine. Now we can see the pagination is applied. Now let me open it in browser. Fine, seems good. Now from here we can control the number of pages per number of items per page. Now let us see, let us check with 5 items. If we click on next page, it will show the next 5 records. Accordingly it will keep on showing till we reach the last page, and on last page it is showing the next page and last page option disabled, which is as expected. If we click on previous page, it will show the previous 5 items. Likewise, once we reach the first page, it will disable the previous page and first page option, because this is we are on the first page. Fine, our pagination is working fine. We have implemented all the searching, sorting, pagination functionality. Now let us focus on our CRUD functionality implementation part. Now for that, first we need to create one method inside it here at our service level. Let us add one method, and this is for like create candidate, and here we can use post method, and here we need to add some input candidate which we need to insert into the database, and this is of type candidate, and after base URL we need to pass the data which we want to insert into the database, and this data is of new candidate we are going to insert. Fine. Now we need to add one method at here as well, like it home component. Now here this is our, let us check where is our submit button. This is our submit button, and here we can mention like click functionality, and we can call create candidate function, and here we can pass the candidate which we want to insert into the database. We can save it, and we can create one function at here, and this is of candidate type. Now here we can call our service like candidate service, and here we can call the create candidate, and we can pass this candidate at here, and we can call the subscribe method, and here we can use next, and for let's say for data we can use like we can log the message like candidate created successfully, or we can say it's a new candidate created successfully. After this, like in order to, we do not need to refresh the page, so that we can use window.location.reload. Now fine, in case of error we need to mention like if it is a error, then we need to log the error as well. Fine. So this bracket should be of type, and save it. So fine, we have added this create candidate functionality. So what we can do, like this submit is going to use for creating as well as editing, so we can use like here we can use add or edit, and for this like we can check if candidate.id is not equal to 0, that means it has some ID. At that time we should write the update logic at here, or else we can add the create logic, and we can copy this create logic and add it here, and we can save it. So this is about creating the candidate, and we can copy this method. Same method we are going to call from our home component here, and we can save it. Fine. So this is about creating the candidate into the database. Let us check if it how it works. Now let us say it here. So for the table we can mention some width. So this is our table. or we can copy the CSS 100%. This is the CSS and we can save it. So here we can go back at here and check. So this is the, and in CSS we have 100% width. Okay, let us add some style and width at here, like 778 pixel, and let us check. Okay, so we can check on later on this width why it is not showing. Fine. So we have let us check the search functionality. So let me add one new record, like let's say it's an something like Samuel as a name. Samuel Gmail we can add, and address we can copy some address from here and add it, and here we can change some address, like let's say it's a 9 sector B. Can submit. Now let us check. Now it is not getting added, so think yes, fine. So the problem is here we need to add it here for this input, where is our, where we are entering the name. Okay, so this is the input, and for these inputs we can use like ng model, and here we can use our, this is the customer dot, sorry, candidate dot name we can use, and to use this ng model we need to import, add the import for common module as well as forms module. We can save it. Now okay, fine, this is for name, we can copy it. Next, this is the input, this is for email, similar, this is the input, and this is for address, and we can save it. Now seems good. Now let us check. Let us check by adding one entry. So here we can add one entry, like let's say rubab @gmail.com, and here address we can copy as is, we can change, instead of the other we can say it's Kurla, we can submit. Seems good. We can see the record is added as expected. Now what next we can do, like we want to, so our addition is working fine. Now what we can do, we want to uh, update the record, like whatever record we select, that should get updated. Before that, like let us do one thing here. Once we enter something, it should get cleared on click of cancel button. That logic we can implement. So this is our cancel button. Here we can add click functionality, and here we can say clear all, and this function we can copy and we can edit it here. This is the clear all, and here we can mention this dot candidate dot name as a blank. Similar way we can copy, this is the email and this is for address. You can save it, seems good. Now once we enter something like this one, we can clear, seems good, it is getting cleared. So the cancel is working fine. What next? We whenever now to achieve the edit functionality or update functionality, we first need to add the action buttons to the table. Okay, fine. Now let us go at our TS file, and here these are the columns which we are going to display. Here we can add first edit button. Next we are going to add one delete button. Fine, delete column. Now what next we can do? We can go back at here HTML part, and this is our last column address. We can copy and we can add one more column for edit and one for delete. So this is the edit, and here we can say it's edit, and here we can create one button which is of type matte flat button, and we can name it like it's an edit. Okay, and that's it. So this is for edit. Similar way we can copy and we can copy this. We can, it's for delete, and this is the delete, and here again like it's an delete matte flat button, and here we can add color. It should be color. For delete button we can add some one color. Fine, seems good. Now let us check how it looks. Now here we can add some width, style, we can add one height like 27 pixel, and width we can use like auto, and we can save it. Same style we can use for the edit button as well, and we can save it. Now check how it looks. Seems good, it is looking as expected. Fine. Now once we click on this edit button, so it should open that row entry into this. It should populate these form fields. That functionality we can implement now. This is our button here, and here it's a click button. On click, what we can like say populate form fields, and here we need to add candidate and save it. Fine. Now here we can call one function like this is the candidate of type candidate, and here we can call this dot candidate dot first its id for this like candidate dot id. Okay, fine. Similar way we can copy from its for name is for email, and this is for address. Fine, seems good. Fine. Now let us check how it works. Like this is our functionality. So once we click on edit button, so it should populate it. Fine. And this is for Sujata, this is for Ajay. Seems good, it is populating as expected. Now what we next we can do, once we modify these entries and click on submit, it should update the record into the database. That part we can achieve now. Okay, fine. So this is our edit functionality, and on click of submit we are going to call the, so this is our submit add or edit functionality we are going to use, and here we can copy this functionality as is, and for update functionality we are going to use update candidate, and to update the candidate we can see here message like candidate updated successfully. Fine, but first we need to create this method at the service level to update the candidate. Out here this is the method name, and we can copy this and we can paste it. We can use as an update candidate here, and this is the data we are going to pass, and to update the candidate we are going to use put method, and here for put method we need to add id as well along with the data, and this is the modified data and this is the id we are going to pass for update candidate. Fine. Now let us check how it works. Now let us take one entry. This is the 6th record for Arnav, and we are going to make it like let's say Sujit, and this is again Sujit email, and here we can mention it's a 11 sector. We can submit. Now we can see 6 record, it is updating as expected. Now with this our edit functionality or updation is working fine. Last thing what we can do, we are going to focus on delete functionality. Once we click on delete button, it should delete the record from the database and table. So let us check on the database side as well whether this Sujit is updated as expected. We have not checked the database. Now let us check. Okay, let us refresh it. Now this is the Sujit of 6 record. Seems good. Fine. Now let us try with our delete functionality. For that first we can create one delete method at the service level, and this is like delete candidate, and here to deleting just id is enough to be passed, and here we can call the delete method, and here we are just passing the id. No data is required to for delete method, and we can save it. Fine. So this is the service level delete candidate method. Now we need to use this in first of all here for the delete action button we can call, so this is the click, and here we can call the delete candidate, and here we can pass the candidate.id, and here we can copy this method, and we can need to add delete candidate, and this is the id which is of number, and here first we can define one constant like we want to show some confirmation box. You can see window dot confirm, and here we can mention are you sure you want to delete. So once we click on OK button, we can check if it is confirmed, then in that case we are going to delete, and for delete we are going to call our candidate service, On that we are going to call the delete candidate method, and this is the id which need to be deleted, and we can call the subscribe method, and for subscribe method here inside this we are going to get data as a callback, and here we can mention this dot candidates we are going to assign to this, like we are going to filter the original candidate, this dot candidates dot filter, and here we can say atom, so atom dot id is not equal to given id. That means we have deleted the id. That's it. Now we need to, so sorry, this should be bracket like this one, same we need to use it here. After this if we do not need to refresh, we can call like window dot location dot reload, so that we do not need to refresh post deletion, and we can save it. Now let us check how it works. Now this is the sixth record. Let us check if we want to delete. So let us check on the UI. So let us say this is the sixth record we want to delete. Once we click on OK button, we can see that sixth record is deleted successfully. Similar way we can try for fourth record. If we delete, we can see the record is deleted successfully. Fine, seems good. Now with this we are done with all the CRUD functionalities along with the searching, sorting, pagination part. So I hope you must have enjoyed this video, and so please like and subscribe this, and thank you so much for watching this, and please visit my channel, uh, and there are other full stack related videos as well. So do visit my channel and see the other full stack videos as well. So thank you so much for watching this video. So thank you so much once again.